Hello and welcome to the Michael Mama Show, Ancient Secrets Revealed. I am your host, Michael Mamas, and we're coming to you from Mount Soma, home of the Sri Someshwara Temple. All right. If you don't even have to pay attention, how could you miss it? That these are turbulent times, Scotty, did you hear that? Just one example that just came to mind. Evidently, North Korea is sending troops to Russia to help with Ukraine.
Yeah, I heard something.
I wonder if that's true or not. Zelensky said that.
Yeah.
At the same time, just look what's going on in the world. Israel bombed
Iran
missile sites and also defensive sites in Iran. And some of those sites are where the Russians, I understand, are getting their drones and missiles and things to attack Ukraine. There's a lot going on in the world. The whole thing is a bubbling mess. And the thing is, what's with the connection here? It's not that good. We'll see what happens here, Scotty. It's doing okay, huh, Scott?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. But it's all predictable, and it's something we've been talking about really for decades in the school here at Mount Soma. And that is that this is the moment of phase transition. And as spooky as it can seem, are we going to have an Armageddon or what? But the reality is that in a phase transition from Kali Yuga, the age of ignorance, to Sat Yuga, as predicted by Lord Krishna and so much in the Vedic literature, this is the moment in time. And it's going to bubble. It's just like when water gets, and I talked about this before, when water gets colder and colder and colder, right at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 centigrade, when it's about to transition into ice, there's a brief moment, because as it cools, it gets more settled. But in that moment, right at the transition, it just starts to bubble. And then boom, it shifts to a more coherent state. Ice is much more structured and coherent in its nature. And that's what's going on. You look at the world and it's just all those political events and just even the way people are thinking and now even the polarization in the elections. Whoever wins the election, it's going to be a mess. You still there, Scott? Yeah, we lost Scotty. There's a Scotty.
I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. So that's just what's going on right now. It's a phase transition, and as frightening as it may seem in the short run, and it's going to continue. Whoever wins the election, there's going to be upheaval, just as I predicted back in January 1st. And it's going to continue well into 2025. Towards the last half of 2025, that we'll start to probably see things start to move in a positive direction. What I want to talk about today, though, I want to talk about the crown chakra. And I think the crown chakra, it's pretty misunderstood, or people can kind of feel their third eye, right? Because you're thinking and you get a headache, or you feel the head pressure, you can just feel the wheels turning. That's sixth chakra. Even the heart chakra, you can your heart swells in love or feels closed or what have you. And we could go through all the chakras that way. They're more physical, they're more accessible. But I've seen some people when they try to access or feel the crown chakra, one fundamental, I think, place they go wrong, for lack of a better way of saying that, is that it's the front of the sixth chakra, this area where we mostly live when we're in our heads, and it's lively, it's bubbly, it's active, it's overt. But the crown chakra is a whole quantum level more subtle and therefore more elusive. I've seen people try to feel their crown chakra and the crown's up there, and so they go like that and they try to feel the crown chakra. What that's doing is it's trying to take the energy level, if you will, that active level where we tend to live, and try to impose it upon the crown chakra. It's not going to happen because the crown chakra is more subtle. Now, admittedly, people can have all kinds of physiological things going on, and we can feel things in our head. Don't get me wrong, but when we're talking about the refined value, the true value of the crown chakra here, and so I want to talk about that. And even having said that, for some people that might be enough to hear. Because, okay, we have this activity, and then when we put our attention on the crown, and see how I go with my hands? The crown chakra is almost too subtle to kind of go into it like that. Once you feel it, it's extremely refined. And I've said this before, the more refined something gets, the more powerful it gets, and also the more delicate it gets. And that's why I say, it's best never to let anybody touch your chakras. I know a lot of healers like to get in there and pry them open or whatever. That's a very bad thing, particularly in the case of the crown chakra. True of all the chakras, but particularly in the case of the crown chakra. As I said, chakras are supposed to blossom, not detonate. And so much of what people do in the name of healing is they go in there and try to pry open a chakra or blow a chakra open. The damage that is done by that can be extensive and severe, and it's said can even take lifetimes to heal. Because basically they're going in and they think they're healing it, but they're tearing it apart. And what happens when you tear open? And that's what you're doing, is you're tearing open the subtle aspects of the crown chakra. Well, okay, light's going to flood in now. And, people, I see the light, or, oh my God, this is everything Michael is saying in his lectures about, subtle perception and all. I'm seeing all this stuff. But it's not the same. It's very damaging. And that goes in the arena of, you could throw it in the category of left-handed left-handed tantra. So don't let anybody mess around with your crown chakra. And I've seen it, and I've seen what it does, and it's heartbreaking. A lot of people meditate for years, and they're culturing their physiology and the subtle values of the crown chakra. And it's understandable that, it's a process. And people can get impatient, and all of a sudden somebody comes along and promises to open their crown chakra for them and blows it open, or their third eye and blows it open. And they, oh, great, I see the light. And I've warned against that. And I've warned against, it's like taking a drug, that first injection of heroin, and people are hooked. And they think they're in heaven, but they're not, you see? So,
Now,
Scotty?
Yeah, that brings up another, the ayahuasca, the DMT, the psychedelics. Everybody's like, doing a lot of those, going down to Peru, or what's happening there? What's the danger? Is there benefit? Is there, what is it?
It's tragic, and it's tragic. And I'm not saying it's not flashy. And I know people like flashy, and so they can do it. And it's like if you have if the consciousness, if the awareness is a computer, what some of these drugs do is they just go in and they just start hitting computer buttons. And anything can happen, and it is dramatic. At least it's some kind of change, you know. And oftentimes they blow open, like I said, certain aspects of it, and so people have all these far out experiences and stuff. It is not good. It is not good. It's damaging, and it's popular, you know. Is that responsive, Scotty?
Yeah, it's just you know, more and more people are talking about it, and you hear
Yeah,
people.
more signs of the phase transition, the bubbling, the world gone crazy, you know.
Yeah, you're hearing more about people that like were in war and stuff that they are claiming they were very helped by like taking like the I think it's more the mushrooms, the psychedelic
But
mushrooms.
in war, did you say?
Yeah, the guys coming back from that have PTSD
Oh, I see.
or they have addiction to like alcohol or other harmful drugs that it's
Yeah.
they're claiming.
Better to heal our problems than to mask them. We just bury them deeper, you know. Uh, anyway, that could be a whole conversation in and of itself. But now to get to the crown chakra, the crown chakra it's incredible, and the experience of it, I'm saying, is incredible. I talked about the shape of the universe, the Hiranyagarbha, how that maps onto like the Shiva Linga, and it's egg shaped, and you know, and the manifest aspect emerges from the core, which is pure gold, and emerges up. It even says that in the Vedic literature. It's gold. That's gold, but it manifests up in kind of like a morning glory flower, and then it goes into the unmanifest, which I think is what they refer to as dark matter, which is Kali, really. And it goes around and completes the shape. Well, the crown chakra is the same way. The crown chakra is rooted, you could say, the whole thing is rooted in the first chakra, the sacrum. And it's all connected there. And it goes up and then it blossoms into the crown chakra and then goes around. And that's like called the subtle aspect of the auric field. But now within the crown chakra, you could say everything exists there. And when you enter it, and I'm saying like with the awareness, they're like these little, well, see, it comes from gold, bubbling up, gold and platinum even. And it bubbles up and they're like these little, it's almost like stardust, you know, little flakes of, almost like little gold coins. And each one contains an entire field of knowledge. And some of them correspond to past lives. All the past lives are there, contained within the crown chakra, and it's accessible. And so you see, entering then the crown chakra and experiencing it, first its experience is infinite, but it's also, it's almost like taking the totality of your existence, right from the Atma, the core, the center, and almost like turning it inside out in a sense. And what do I mean by that? It's like revealing it. Now, to experience all of that, it's not, I wouldn't even try really to experience it other than the possibility of maybe when you're lying in bed or after meditation perhaps or something, allow your awareness to just go to that more sublime level. And when you do that, the thing is when you actually do that, the crown chakra is right there. It's not like you have to even feel the crown chakra. You're just there because you're resonating. Your awareness, you see, is resonating with that level of your greater physiology. And by greater physiology, I mean everything about you that is manifest. And the auric field is manifest. Even the subtlest levels you see of your being before actually going into the pure transcendent, it's manifest. And that's what I mean by the greater physiology, that whole spectrum, that whole transgradient continuum, you see? So awakening to the crown chakra, even realizing, it's not, needless to say, it's no coincidence that the Hiranyagarbha maps onto the structure of your being, your auric field, your subtle physiology. Because and this is a tough one, I understand, I've mentioned it before, I get it's a tough one to get probably, but all of manifest creation emerges from within your Atma, from that core, from that center, that tip of the center of the Hiranyagarbha, which maps onto, which correlates to the center of your being, and that's the Atma. That's your Atma. And it all emerges from there. I don't know if that's relatable or not, but just imagine, maybe it would help to just imagine that nothing exists other than your experience. Now, granted, that can sound psychotic, and if your relationship with it wasn't healthy, I guess it would be psychotic. But on the deepest level and the most profound level, it's just the nature of reality. You are the source of the universe. Scotty, is that what?
Yeah. Well,
that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard you talk before about how also chakras, they can take in as well as expel energy or whatever, prana, whatever that you want to call it. And I'm thinking too, at the same time, is there some correlation between what we're doing here with our own being and like the universe having like black holes, and you see like it taking things in, and then what's happening? Is it on the other end of that? Is it going? Is that some kind of mapping, or is there some?
Okay, that's the next thing I want to talk about, and that's called, it's good, Scotty. I mean, it's a really great question. Metabolic optimization. Now, in one sense, and oftentimes, like in martial arts or different things, they'll talk about how the source of energy is the earth, and it comes up through your feet into your first chakra, the root chakra, and then feeds the entire physiology. And that's true. And so you could say that you've got a quality coming in there. At the same time, that's where the physiology gets its energy and its power and manifests outward. But now, it's also true that where it comes in is through the crown chakra. And I don't know, you probably had this experience where and I'm talking, proper meditation. Other meditations can do all sorts of things, trance states or whatever. But with proper meditation, what happens is this connection becomes very powerful. And in one sense, you're expanding out, but in another sense, what happens is it's like lack of better way of saying this, the energy of heaven pours into the physiology. And now it's interesting because oftentimes, because we're more focused on these chakras, right? We resonate more with that. As I said, you'll feel it pouring in this way. That's why a lot of times when people open to heaven, they'll go like that. And that's all fine. It can be emotionally based, but it can also be very physiological based in a very real sense. And I think in proper meditation, oftentimes that can be experienced. But while that's going on a more subtle level, that quantum leap deeper level, what's going on with the crown chakra is the whole physiology is being fed. And so what is metabolic optimization about? Well, yeah, it can go from the depth or the surface, or how do you want to say it? The more earth plane qualities, even on a very superficial level, you could say blood chemistries and things like that, which is all important and real. But even more importantly, it can come from through the crown chakra, which roots down into the sacred bone, the sacrum, the first chakra. That's why they call it sacrum. And then those two merge. And that's where real metabolic optimization comes from. But now the process of facilitating that, there's all kinds of things: proper diet, proper nutrition, proper exercise, meditation, all of that. But here we're talking about the physiology of metabolic optimization. Okay, there's some other things that I'm researching now. I don't feel really all that ready to talk about it because there's so much more I want to read and study. But there are means, and this is all going to see. After we get through this bubbling stage of the phase of transition, everything's going to change, including our and even in time the medical industry's understanding of biochemistry. All that's going to change, and the seeds of that are just starting, we could say, to emerge in the greater awareness, the more universal awareness. I mean, there are Ayurvedic masters probably up in the hills of the Himalayas or what have you that know all this stuff, but it's tucked away in caves, as has been said, their attitude is, in Kali Yuga, why even go out in all that mud? It would just get lost anyway, or twisted or compromised, and it's just, why bother, which incidentally is why I am now focusing on building the unified field generator, building the enlightened city. Something before all this can really come out, the global consciousness is going to have to purify, and it will purify. But is it going to, come in smooth, or is it going to be an Armageddon? I think the roughness we're feeling now is because it's not as smooth as it could have been. But I think all that's going to work out, over the next year. So, put on your helmets and buckle your seatbelts, and we're in for a ride. But I think it's going to be frightening. It already is, isn't it? But it's going to work out fine. We're in for a really wonderful thing. And we're very fortunate to live in a time where we're going to witness that whole phase transition. It's so rare in the greater history of the world. Okay. Did I get off on a tangent there, Scotty, or are you still with me?
No, we're following along.
Yeah, okay. I saw a great quote that I really like. I think it was an ex-Navy SEAL. And he said, "It's not about me." He said, "It's about the greater good." That's a rare attitude. In fact, it's such a rare attitude that when someone holds that attitude, when that's their approach to life, I think people don't really believe it. And as a result, they become even more skeptical of that individual. Are we being conned, Because that's called projective identification. People think a certain way and they say, since I'm thinking that way, other people think that way. And if somebody presents themselves in a way other than that, they're lying. But it's a beautiful quote and it's real, we want to live our lives. We want to live our lives in a way when, if we were to look back at this incarnation after we're gone, that it's something we're proud of. And I think all too often people like to get, as I've said in the past, they want to get a past life reading and find out what a great person they were in the past, because then they can live, a small selfish life in this lifetime and just rest on the laurels of who they were in the past. It's no way to live your life. It's no way to live your life. And you will find out that you are the greater good. Your purpose, you are one with the totality. And when he says it's not about me, he's talking about the superficial self, just the daily life, the routine, greed, money, superficiality, as opposed to the greater good, I think that's all I've got right now. Yeah. And so, unless, Scotty, there's something else?
No.
Okay, we're good to go. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll cover it again more next time.